Product Universe here. A very fired up Karoline Leavitt totally blindsides the media with the facts. This is unbelievable.
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades? The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the President's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education, but we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal government going to be
going to
spending
be
less?
much smaller than it is? Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination. Who's going to do that now?
Any critical functions of the department, such as that, will remain. But again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
What about federal Title I funding and special education funding? Is that still good?
Same answer.
Caroline.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. This executive order dismantles the department. To abolish it completely requires Congress to act. Is the administration asking Congress to codify Trump's executive order to abolish the department?
I'll leave it to the president to speak on that later. 4 o'clock. Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
The president would like to see American schools and students reach over the next 4 years after he signs the CO?
Well, again, in the intent of this EO is to return this great responsibility back to the states. And we know, we believe in federalism here at the White House. I know the previous administration didn't, but we think decisions are best made when they're closest to the people. And we trust teachers and educators in their respective schools to make these very important decisions about our children's education and their futures. And the current status quo is failing our students. In fact, I have some facts right here. 13-year-olds' mathematics scores are the lowest they have been in decades. 13-year-olds' reading scores are the lowest since testing began over 30 years ago. Low-performing students are falling further behind. One city, Baltimore, Maryland, in 2023, high schools had 0 students who tested proficient in mathematics. As a mother myself, I know I share the concern of many parents across the country. We want our children to be bright and smart and ahead of the game. This is also, I would say, a national security issue. When you look at how students around the world, particularly in China, are being educated, American students are falling behind. We're not keeping up with our allies or our adversaries, and that's a major problem for our country. And the president is fixing it today.
You listed off some of the failures over the last 30 years from the Department of Education. So for critics, what has been the ROI on $3 trillion going to a failing education system?
It's a great question. Nothing. And that's exactly why the president is signing the order later today.
Yeah, but with the executive order today, is it also the goal to eventually be spending less in federal dollars on education?
Of course. It's our goal to reduce the size and scale of this government across every agency, which is why you've seen very strong and quick actions taken to reduce the amount of money that federal taxpayers are paying on a system that is failing them and their families.
But does that mean like eventually downsizing some of the programs that are run out of the education department currently?
It means stopping the wasteful spending, and as I said, critical programs will be protected.
So Caroline, given that we have this noon deadline looming for this DC judge, for the DOJ to turn over these documents when it comes to the time logs of these deportation flights, is the administration going to turn over that information, the exact time logs, the information that the DC court is asking for?
I won't get ahead of our lawyers, but you'll hear from them in court.
And a follow-up question, the Commerce Secretary yesterday said that Tesla stock is something that Americans should be buying. Is that stance of the administration that people should be investing in? Is that something that the Commerce Secretary should be recommending?
I think the Commerce Secretary was reiterating that the president supports an American-made company like Tesla, who produces a very good product for the American people, which was beloved by the American people, particularly Democrats, until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. And now we've seen despicable and unacceptable violence taking place across our country at Tesla dealerships against workers, employees, and also innocent Americans who drive these vehicles. It's actually a scary time in our country because of this political violence from the left, and the White House and the president's entire administration condemn it wholeheartedly.
Caroline,
we'll see you guys at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
This was so unbelievable of Karoline Leavitt. She was so fired up and surprised them straight to their face with her great words. She came out there and took the bull by the horns and totally demolished them. Because where was the backlash over America's failing test scores for the last many years? Where was the backlash over the loss of learning that has been taking place for years now? Where is the backlash that the United States is ranked very low globally in terms of education in comparison to countries like China, who are dominating education? Young Americans are falling behind at rates which have never been seen before. That is why dramatic action is taking place, and President Trump has dismantled the Department of Education because of this. Because America spends billions and trillions of dollars on education on the federal level, yet still America ranks very low in comparison to other countries on education. So Donald Trump ended the Federal Department of Education to bring education back to the states, where states will control education and hopefully do a much better job, as the education of our youth is so critical. The youth of today will one day be the workforce of the country, a workforce of doctors, lawyers, scientists, entrepreneurs, and other essential jobs. How is the United States supposed to keep up with other developing countries and their great education, such as China, if education in our country is terrible? How will our country advance technology with individuals who know less than their competition? This is why Donald Trump took this dramatic action. As Karoline Leavitt so brilliantly said, it will remain to be seen whether this was a great move, but if the test scores go up, then this will have been a huge success, because billions and trillions of dollars will have been saved from the cutting of the Department of Education, and it will have achieved its goal of the states enhancing education for their students. Karoline Leavitt totally came out like a boss and destroyed the biased media for their hypocrisy. Why couldn't the media question her predecessor, Karine Jean-Pierre, and Joe Biden? Because they only care when it is a Republican administration, because the media is an arm of the Democratic Party. So Karoline Leavitt did a brilliant job of standing up to the media and delivering the straight facts. This deserves to be shared because this was a fired up Karoline Leavitt who delivered a master class to the media. As well, her revealing that President Trump will stand up for Elon Musk in the face of all the violence his company has faced is a great thing, as Elon Musk is a great patriot with a great American company that is one of the most important American companies at the current moment. And we need to stand up for our super genius who will bring us one day to Mars with SpaceX. But that's just my 2 cents, and you are entitled to your 2 cents. If you want, share your opinion in the comments below, as all viewpoints are welcome. If you enjoyed this informational and educational video, then give the video a like and turn on my channel notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless America.